Hey guys, thanks for joining. Give it one or two more minutes here. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for hopping on, and thanks to those of you that participated in the mastermind group yesterday. We'll have another one of those at the end of next quarter. So if you missed this time around, please join us next time. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, I'll send out a note later on today. Today's the last day of the quarter, so if you are not on auto draft for your MLS dues and you get them taken out quarterly, make sure that you pay them, or they will send us all a little nasty gram. So just a friendly reminder there. So I wanted to do a session today on the subject of marketing, which means different things to different people, especially in real estate. And so I always suggest that whenever it comes to prospecting and marketing, to do the opposite of what everyone else does. And so I think we all know what many realtors do in this area. And so I wanted to provide today some lesser common ways to market yourself and market your business, some of which are completely hands-on, some of which you can do with little effort. So let's go ahead and get started. And if anyone has any examples from their own initiatives, please chime in. I will tell you that all the things that we're reviewing today they're proven either by myself personally or other agents in the office that are doing this right now. So, so what is marketing in real estate? Well, it's really communicating a consistent message about your business over and over and over again, right? Because we all know that the key to marketing is never just one touch. It has to be consistent and has to be repetitious. And it's really more about the who and less about the why. So what I mean here is that to have marketing targeted is a heck of a lot better than not, and just doing marketing for the sake of doing marketing. And it really is the embodiment of your personal brand, your audience, and your message, and how you conduct business. And so your business card and your resume might say one thing, but marketing is an extension of that. It's a reflection of who you are, who your audience is, and how you conduct business. So, and really the best marketing is a listing and that sign in the yard. So that's why in real estate, you'll hear listings are king. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. One of which is that it typically brings buyers. But if you kind of think about whenever one of your neighbors is having their house painted or putting on a new roof, and it typically gets interest in you or the other neighbors to do the exact same thing. And all of a sudden, you see the same signs in your yard for a painter, a contractor, a roofer, whatever. And so the same thing holds true for a listing. Typically, in a more normal market, the minute one realtor sign goes up in the yard, that will spark interest in other neighbors, and they will, in essence, call you. So that's why it's not uncommon to see one realtor sign in a yard, and then all of a sudden you see the same sign in two or three other homes. So there are some doozies out there, right? So this is people's marketing. If you live in Texas, you know about the Texas Hammers, right? So these guys are everywhere. And this is just the print version of their really kind of zany commercials. And they're not the only ones. And so this is in the legal profession. Found some in real estate. So here's a gentleman out of, looks like Toronto. Here's an example of this person's marketing. Looks like it might be a subway sign or something, or bus stop sign. And then here's another one. So if you're shopping for a realtor, this should get your attention real quick. So let me explain what other brokerages do in the way of marketing. I should have named this slide, what does Keller Williams do? Because that's the story I'm about to tell you. So when I started with Keller Williams about 11 years ago, new agent, new to real estate, and I went in and talked to their coach, and I said, can you help me understand how to get business? And what are your programs? What does that look like? And they said, there is no lack of business that can be better solved by doing marketing. And the meaning behind that was that to just really spam your contacts until you just kind of wear them down and they use you. And so they have a program for this called 33 Touch. And this is just one example of many that brokerages do because they think more is better. And so 33 Touch is literally 33 touches to the same person every year. That's 3 times a month, which is excessive. But man, they stand by this. They say, if you're not getting hired, then you're not in people's face enough. I disagree, but this is what the perception is out there in the real estate industry. And so what do most agents think marketing is? A lot of agents think it's mass mailing, right? The shotgun approach. Spend $1,500 on postcards every single month and hope that someone is going to call you. Another thing you'll hear is that agents will justify the expense by saying, I know it gets tossed, but the chances of them looking at it before it gets tossed is probably pretty good. And who knows if that will turn into something. If you're like me, you get too much of this stuff and you just throw it out. You don't even look at it. So that's one perception. The others are mass emails, and we all know what that is, right? So there is such a thing called the Can Spam Act, and that means that if you get such an email, there has to be an option to opt out. Okay, so that's why I personally use free services like MailChimp, and there's some others out there that include that already into that mailing. But that's what most agents think these marketing is. Mass mailing, snail mail, mass emails, ads on the back of shopping carts, sponsoring events, sponsorship of certain things. And the main flaw in that is that, like a lot of marketing, not just these examples, but even arguably some of the ones that I'll talk about today, it's very difficult to track. And so when you think about a mass mailing as the example, unless you have something that says mention this code or mention this mailing and get XYZ off, whatever it is, there's really no good way to gauge your return on investment. And so by that alone, they tend to be less effective. So the things I'm going to go over today are the 5 less common ways to market yourself and market your business. One, we're going to talk about finding your niche. Second, LinkedIn, Facebooks, and just social media groups in general. The third is YouTube. The fourth is something called circle prospecting. And then the fourth is the tried and true, some kind of meetup or coffee with vendors. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. So finding your niche. So in any sales profession, real estate in particular, it's always better to be an expert in one area versus a generalist in every area. So the quicker you can get to, I only work with veterans, I'm only going to work with first-time home buyers, I'm only going to work with seniors, I'm only going to work in my own subdivision because I know the turnover is high. That's kind of where you want to get to. The clearer that can be defined, the more surgical your efforts are going to be. And so you don't want to be everything to everybody. And when you find out what that is, it can become very liberating because it gives you permission to say no to other stuff that's just going to waste your time. Okay, so so what does that look like? So when I say, I purposely said join or start, because if you can't find an existing group or entity to be involved in, start your own. All right, and so join or start a church group, a biking club, as one example, or something to do with exercise, physical fitness, a reading club, a wine club, join Rotary, Kiwanis, or some other kind of civic group. Sign up for a Habitat for Humanity project, join a seniors group or a military group, some kind of thing that will get you in the company of who it is you want to serve. And so operationally, tactically, what does that look like? Well, what you're trying to do is physically be involved in these kinds of groups. And all you want to do is start planting your seeds and waiting for them to grow. And so this is actually working very well for a handful of our agents, people that do outreach in relation to their church or a civic organization are telling me they're getting business from this. So you want to resist the urge to do what everyone else is doing. And so as an example, all of these organizations are going to have a roster of people with their contact information. You do not want to spam them or just needlessly reach out to them, okay? So that's what I mean by resist doing what everyone else is doing. But you do want to find subtle ways to talk about real estate and let people know that you're a realtor and let them come to you. I mean, you're really there to do something else. And so I'm not suggesting hitting them over the head with the fact that you're a real estate agent, but you do need to find a subtle way that works for you to let them know what it is that you do. And that is never more important than today because people have lots of questions about our industry and the housing market. And so you're actually doing people a favor. And if you tell 10 people, maybe 2 will approach you. That's a good batting average. Okay. And then ask about their businesses. Is there an opportunity to cross-refer or get listed on their website? So all of these are really kind of a boots on the ground approach, and you'll kind of see that reveal itself as we go. But the more you can make these conversations about how you can help them, and you could phrase that, listen more, talk less, the better off you're going to be and the more likely you're going to be to get business. Okay. Maybe you set up an event that's just for them, right? Whatever that is. If you have their, contact information, maybe you create some kind of subset or sub meeting that where it's appropriate. Okay. And then I think that you should wear your name tag when it's appropriate. That's why I put that on the onboarding checklist. It's a very, very inexpensive way to market yourself. And you could show up to your wine club or the book club and have your name tag on and say, yeah, I just left a showing, but I'm here, and you might get someone that says, oh yeah, really, you're in real estate? I didn't realize that. And then through that entire meeting, they're looking at your name tag. Okay, so that will bear fruit at some point. Okay, so the next thing is LinkedIn, social media groups, but in general, just have a presence on social media. And again, this is currently working for a handful of our agents. So and I've covered this before as kind of an answer to everyone kind of being locked down and not able to move about, and that certainly is loosening. But I think that technology, the way it is, we can absolutely leverage this, even as we're coming out of the pandemic, as a source to get leads. All right, so be seen as a resource on these particular groups. Know that how you present yourself is really marketing 101. It goes without saying, avoid controversial comments, avoid controversial topics, avoid coming across as being right or correcting someone, but you do want to be seen as a resource on social media. All right, so what does this look like in practice? Well, you could join or start a referral group online. So the tried and true up until just recently was networking groups, referral groups, things that met in person. And while those things are still extremely effective, equally as effective would be to create these groups online. And so let's just take a referral group as one example. You could start a referral group and invite other people to it, of course, but don't invite other realtors. I mean, the benefit of you doing it on your own is that you control who joins and what gets said. And so maybe in other professions, you invite more of those. Maybe you invite 3 plumbers, 3 electricians, whatever, but certainly limit it to realtors because you want yourself to be seen as the expert. I also think that referral group attendance and networking group attendance peaks and valleys. And I think that when people have their notifications on some of these social networks, that they're always going to see when somebody posts something. And maybe you don't have a formal meeting, but I think it's easier to get people to join when it's online and not in person necessarily. So that's one way. Join a real estate related group. So these are great on either LinkedIn, Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram. So, again, join the groups, kind of check it out, see what the, culture is. You might want to stay, you might want to leave, but if you find that it's one that you can provide value, stay on it. Nearly every neighborhood has a Nextdoor site as well. And I've seen people have success there as well. Does your HOA have a Facebook page or some kind of outlet so that you can post things or at least be involved? Suggest posting maybe a question of the week to drive engagement. So I see that a lot on just Facebook in general. I would suggest using some of these groups to do the same. And that is just going to create engagement, and you're going to know immediately who is active on the page and who isn't. And then maybe you just randomly post a recommendation for a plumber, for an HVAC person. There are a lot of these folks out there, and maybe you just post something that says, hey, I just used XYZ company to do some landscaping, highly recommend them. And so automatically, and include that other person in that post so that they know you're referring business to them, of course. But I think that creates instant credibility, and people see you as a resource, perhaps for other things. And then post about how you can recommend their business. And so maybe you just post something that says, hey, drop in the comments what you do for a living and how I can recommend you. And oh, by the way, I'm a realtor. And that's going to make sense because you're in the business of connecting clients with other businesses. Okay. All right. So YouTube. So at some point in the next very near future, I am going to myself or have someone do a session on videos and YouTube and how you use this. But today I'm just going to talk about it. So YouTube is owned by Google, and by default has a tremendous amount of reach and is a big deal when it comes to search rankings. Okay, so people are looking on YouTube as much as they're looking on Google for various things, and the two are intertwined so much that one clearly impacts the other. So, and I mean, you'd be surprised at if you create your own YouTube channel, people will find you and they'll subscribe to you, and you won't know why or who they are. You won't know, you've never heard of these people before, but when you subscribe to a YouTube channel, you can also subscribe to get notifications when you post a new video. And so that also can kind of pack that 1-2 punch for motivation for you to post various content. Okay, so we've evolved. I mean, I think video works a heck of a lot better and is more effective than just reading something. So time was where a blog was the latest, greatest thing, and people go on a blog and read all sorts of great stuff. I think that people are more inclined to watch a video instead. So that's why I am a big advocate of YouTube. Okay, and you could use your niche as a platform for what to post. So let's say that you do specialize in the veteran demographic or senior demographic. Make all of your posts around that niche. People will absolutely find that. And so that's an even better reason to kind of niche down and really specialize, because from there, you can create all sorts of great content that you really didn't realize people were searching for to begin with. So YouTube can definitely help you with that. And then always link to your website. So if you have a website with us, or maybe you don't have a website with us, I mean, it doesn't matter. You can certainly link to whiterocktexas.com, but if you have your own, this is a great place to create a link to your website so that you can get individual leads. Okay, so what does this all look like? I would make a list of the vast knowledge that you already have in real estate. So if you are just struggling for what to do, you're kind of sitting there thinking, I know I need to do this. I just don't know what to post. Well, if you don't have a specialty, you certainly do have a lot of knowledge about a lot of stuff in real estate. Just posting what's coming soon or various statistics within the MLS is sufficient. But start making a list, and maybe you commit to posting one thing a month. Well, that means you only have to come up with 12 different topics. okay? And start thinking about what you can post on. And then open up your phone and just push record. Whether you have an Android or an iPhone, it all comes with a video capability. And if you don't have the YouTube app, you can download that and post it right to YouTube. It's a lot simpler than you think. If you're dying to know more about this and don't want to wait for my tutorial, just go to YouTube and search, how do I post something to YouTube? And thousands of different videos will come up. All right, but you've got to, if you have kind of this aversion to recording yourself, you just got to get over it. People don't care. They will listen to the content. Okay. You could do a new build tour, right? A lot of agents do this. They go into a model home and they just start pushing record and they post it onto YouTube. Okay, that's a good one. You could post something about common things that are missed in an inspection, or things that people overlook in an inspection or make a big deal about in an inspection, whatever. You kind of get the idea. Do you do a video on new design trends? You could kind of couple this with the model home. They have the latest and greatest on what the latest trends are out there. People love that stuff. Can you review something specific about the contract? Maybe it's the 1-to-4, maybe it's an HOA addendum, third-party financing, what have you. I think people just kind of generally sign what's in front of them. They don't really read through it. And so this would be an opportunity to kind of clarify. All right. And then always consider doing topics that aren't related to real estate. I can't tell you how many posts I see about 5 tips to declutter your home, or 7 tips to spring clean, or whatever. Again, opposite of what everyone else is doing. If you kind of sprinkle some non-real estate related things in there, I think that the engagement is better. So just an idea. All right, so circle prospecting. This has been around since real estate's been around. So what is circle prospecting? Well, it's pinpointing a listing or an open house or a sold property and working your way out from there for marketing purposes. So think of it this way. If you see a for sale sign in someone's yard, whether it's your listing or not, the idea is to canvas that neighborhood and just kind of work outwards to market yourself and perhaps gain interest. It kind of goes back to my original point about, someone sees a sign in the yard from a neighbor that is getting their home painted, and all of a sudden there's a lot of interest in getting your home painted. Now you got to be careful, because if you did not have anything to do with that property, you absolutely cannot, it is a huge no-no to convey that you did. Okay, so it is perfectly appropriate to, as one kind of probably bad example, knock on the next door neighbor's door and say, hey, I don't know if you noticed your neighbor's home is for sale. Do you have any interest in selling your home? You just can't, you can do that, but you just can't make it seem like it's your listing or you have anything to do with that listing. But there is value in doing this. And so this doesn't just work for listings. You could do that for open house or a property that just sold as well. Okay, so you could create flyers or your one-page resume, or create postcards around that subject property. I wouldn't do any more than 50, just for interest sake, time sake, and cost. You don't really need to do any more than that. You could mail them or leave them on their doorstep. You could do a personal invitation to an exclusive open house. And again, I know this sounds old school. This is currently working for at least one agent that I spoke with this week. And he did not send out more than 30, and he got calls. You could use RPR to determine the value of a specific home. So Don't be afraid to use RPR. Typically, whenever I reference RPR, it is in this context where you can just put in any address in the country, by the way, and create all sorts of different reports that are specific to that property. One of which is what their home is valued at. And they also give you a range of pricing. So that's kind of what I mean when I typically suggest using RPR. There's nothing more relevant than a report about a person's specific home. Okay. All right. So lastly would be coffee with vendors. So I wouldn't have mentioned this other than I think it's much, much more common that you see people getting out and networking. So, if we're ever, heaven forbid, in a situation where we're locked down again, obviously don't do this, but I do think this has some merit now that people are starting to network in a more traditional way. So, nothing says relationship building more than a formal sit down to discuss business. And you could do this with anybody. Today, I'm talking about vendor partners such as plumbers, electricians, inspectors, title people. These folks have a lot of realtors to recommend, and a lot of times it's just a matter of who talked to them last. So if you do this on a consistent basis, your chances go up with them directly recommending you. All right, and it's really more about how you can help them. And you don't necessarily need to set up a formal appointment. You can just drop off a cup of coffee or just drop in to say hi, whatever that looks like for you and whatever is appropriate for that relationship, do that. But if you approach these relationships more from how can I help you versus how can you help me, you're going to get to your end result a lot quicker. All right. And you want them to take you seriously and be comfortable sending you referrals. Like I said, there are a lot of us in real estate. People aren't recommending all of us, and there's a reason. And so, make sure you're presenting yourself professionally and in a way that they're going to take you seriously and feel good about attaching their name to yours when they're recommending you out. All right. So here is my recommendation. Make a list of 3 vendors in 5 different categories, and I would include builders in there as well. All right, set up appointments or simply bring them a cup of coffee. Okay, discuss what you offer, and then always ask them how you can help them. So it's more of a casual, less intrusive, meeting. And I would follow up every month or 6 weeks. Every 4 to 6 weeks, I would just follow up. You don't necessarily need to go back and meet with them. Although if you think that's appropriate, go for it. But you just want to stay top of mind. So in the spirit of what I started out saying originally regarding what is marketing, it's repetition, it's consistency. But I think that all these things are much more surgical and much more targeted in nature and are by no means the shotgun approach, right? You don't want to send out 5,000 postcards and hope that someone calls you. All right, so I'm going to throw in a bonus here today, and that is Google My Business. So there are tons of marketing opportunities here. You could link it to your website. Pictures and videos are most effective, and I'm going to show you what ours looks like. And this is going to be embarrassing because I haven't updated this in quite some time. But here is White Rock Realty's Google My Business. You do not have to have a physical address as a realtor to have a Google My Business account. But here's the deal. Google is the most popular search engine out there. And this is part of the reason I also, on our own website, whiterocktexas.com, where I have all of y'all listed. If you live in a suburb of a major city, I put that suburb. So if your general area is Austin, but you live in Pflugerville, I say that you live in Pflugerville. And the reason is because as people are typing in, find me a realtor in Pflugerville, they're not going to be typing in Austin. The likelihood of you coming up increases. Okay. And so similarly is your Google My Business page. So if you create this for your own specific area, your search rankings greatly improve on Google. Okay. And so this is kind of what a Google My Business page looks like. You can think of it as similar to Facebook. You can do posts, you can post videos, you can post I posted a link, search for homes in real time right on our website, got 80 views, no clicks. That's not good, but 80 people saw it. But the more consistent you do this, the better off you're going to be. I've had agents do this and specifically post videos and photos once a day, and they do get business from this. One person posted a video years ago. Someone found it randomly and reached out to them. So, you know, the internet never goes away. So it doesn't matter how old or how new the post is, people will find you, and that's okay. Whether it's a recent post or an old post, as long as they find you, that's kind of the end game. But if you don't have one of these, I would strongly suggest you get one. You can always, I've done a training session on this. And so if you want to search our office meeting trainings, it will be on there, but there's always a risk that things have been updated since I've done the video. So if you just go to Google and say, show me how to do Google My Business, or better, go to YouTube and ask the same question, you'll find content on how to build it. It's very, very, very easy, by the way. You probably don't even need a video. But anyway, so that's marketing for you 24/7. And that was the last bonus. Does anyone have any other ideas that they're doing that the group could benefit from, or any questions? And you'll have to unmute if you do.
Brad, I have a question about Realtor.com. I didn't know about exactly how to set up myself as a realtor professional in Realtor.com, and I'm not sure I've done everything that I need to do there, but I did set it up, and after a recent closing, I did get an email from them asking if I wanted to send a referral to the client so that they could respond. And then I guess Realtor.com will collect that and post it, but that's something I'm trying to play around with a little bit too.
Yeah, that brings up a good point, because the question always becomes, well, if you want reviews, where are you asking your folks to review you on? And so the answer is several. Yeah, I mean, first of all, getting them to fill out the review is difficult, but when they do, to your point, I mean, people are looking on Zillow, Realtor.com, and Google. So if they can hit one of those three, your reach is going to be good, you know, versus, you know, a lot of companies are out there trying to sell you platforms where they can, you know, people can do a referral, and that's great until people can't find it. And so when they're vetting out realtors, you want them to be able to go to some place common where a review is going to be. And as I said, Zillow, Realtor.com, those are home runs, along with Google. And the Google My Business page allows you to do that. Great feedback. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And first of the month starts tomorrow. So next week's meeting will be kind of reviewing the March statistics, starting to see some movement in April. So that's good. Hopefully there will be some more listings, April, May, June, and so on. So, but yeah, but thank you so much for joining, you guys, and we will see you next week. Have a good week.